Through this series, we're going to show you the performance out of the turbo. It's standard all-wheel drive. Not going to receive it in a lot of the variants, which we're going to go over in this series. 2023 Mazda CX-5 2.5 turbo signature all-wheel drive in Soul Red Crystal Metallic over Catura Napa leather. Interior has just as much luxury as the Germans without the sticker price. And I'm going to be comparing this against a Honda and Toyota and some of those German rivals to show you why this is one of the best-selling SUVs in North America and for Mazda. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides. A Mazda CX-5 is a more box elegant structure. You're not going to be getting that rugged look like you would with the CX-50. That's pretty much the big difference. It's not going to give you any type of slope back to give you the coupe style, which kind of wish they would have went that route since they've made two different variants. But what we set up here is LED headlamps and daytime runnings. The chrome bar that integrates underneath the headlamp assembly goes all around the enlarged grille with the honeycomb gloss black in the interior. The lower bumper pushes inwards and pushes out a little bit with the matte black. Clearance over 7.5 inches. Because this is a signature, front and rear parking sensors and a 360-degree reverse camera. One thing you will notice is the new Honda CR-V mimics a lot of the front fascia of this. The major difference here though is how everything is a little bit more pushed back and lower, whereas on the Honda it's pushed up a little bit more, so it gives a little bit more of a higher stance, where this is a little bit more lower for a dynamic stance. Everything the same color as the body, encasing 19-inch multi-spoke alloy wheels, behind it with a 12.6-inch ventilated disc, the rear at 11.9 inches, it's ventilated. Independent McPherson strut front suspension with the multi-link rear suspension. Both the front and the rear will have your coil springs and your anti-roll bars with brake actuated limited slip differential, G vectoring control plus, which helps with cornering through engine torque and brake pressure. With a length at 179.1 inches, a wheelbase at 106.2 inches, this is going to be a touch less in length than the Honda CR-V. It's also going to be a little bit smaller in length and width than the CX-50 because of the front and rear bumpers and flared out fender. The Mazda will not be as dynamic as the Germans. They don't offer any type of coupe design, so no slope roof to come into the back, but you get the lower roof spoiler. Matte black now is going to surround that. LED tail lamps with the gloss black on the top, and on the lower bit you're going to get the matte black. Towing up to 2,000 pounds, which is going to be better than Honda. If you go into Toyota, it could tow a little bit more. You can also get the TRD. It's a little bit more rugged and off-road. However, you can also option a CX-50 Meridian Edition, and then you have that same off-road feel to the Mazda. Power liftgate to go inside, 30.9 cubic feet. It's a more flat opening and it is a wider opening, so it's easy to get inside with storage on both sides and a 12 volt. Here we have a storage container that's in the top that has 3 different dividing parts to make it a little bit easier. Underneath the floor, you get a spare tire. Split fold the rear bench at a 40-20-40 split in the back, which will increase your cargo to 59.6 cubic feet, which is more than Honda's new CR-V, a little bit less than Toyota. Let's go inside and start up this signature turbo so you can hear that exhaust note. And that's the note that you're gonna get out of a Turbo 4. The nice thing about it is it's not that big of a vehicle. And they back the performance with a 2.5 liter Skyactiv G dynamic pressure turbo inline 4-cylinder, producing 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque when using premium fuel. If you use regular, you will decrease the power. That's paired with a 6-speed Skyactiv drive automatic transmission. Achieving 22 to 27 mpgs, that's good for a 0 to 60 under 6.5 seconds with a quarter mile under 15 seconds. And with these numbers, it illustrates that it's faster than a Mercedes GLA or GLB. Faster than an Audi Q3. It's about the same speed as a BMW X1. All of those vehicles, MSRP, are around $39,000 to $40,000. This spec'd out is under $43,000. You're not going to be able to touch those vehicles at this price point with everything that you're about to see in the interior. Turbocharge gets an increase of 6 horsepower. Toyota will tow a little bit more than this, but it will outperform Honda and Toyota on a daily use and a fun to drive vehicle. Let me know in the comments what you think about the 2023 Mazda CX-5 Signature as we go inside, go over to the tech, and take this for our drive. Entering inside the Mazda CX-5 Signature Turbo. Headroom is at 39.3 inches, legroom at 41 inches. Why is this the best-selling vehicle? Well, it starts off with the Catura Napa leather, 10-way power seat adjustment for the driver, 6-way power seat adjustment for the passenger, both ventilated and heated. The Signature trim starts off with your premium Bose upgraded sound system with the 2-tiered dash, the wood inlays, and you get a satin aluminum that brushes around the air vents and throughout the dash. Touch screen infotainment. We have navigation. You would normally have a pinch and a swipe. Unfortunately, we don't have that because we don't have touch screen. Click into the home button so you can see all the apps we have: Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming, Bluetooth audio. Put it into reverse. You have a 360-degree reverse camera with full trajectory. So it does make that a lot more easy and pleasant for your reversing working underneath. You'll have your dual climate control settings, a wireless charging pad right here with a 12 volt. It's a little hard to get to, but once you do, once you get it, you're there. Gloss black all around with the leather on the gear lever. Your MI driving modes, which will change from sport, normal, and off-road capabilities. And when you do that, it has a nice little effect on the odometer. Working down with your rotary knob that controls everything for the infotainment screen. Cup holders, I would say a 32 ounce will fit without any issues at all. It's going to be more firm derived here, and it's also pushed back. As you can see, it's almost lined up as far back as I am. Open up inside, you get a little storage tray. 2 USB ports, a 12 volt. It is a pretty deep storage. It's just a little bit further back than my liking, with a leather wrapped 3-spoke steering wheel, multi-function with the paddle shifters, SRS badging here. Kind of wish it was a CX-5 badging. The gauge cluster has a digital reader in the center that can go through an array of information for the driver. The tweeter bulges out with the A-pillars. The door panel gets more of your everyday materials pretty much everywhere. It's going to be more firm drive. One touch up and down for all your windows with the gloss black surrounding it. It's a long storage pocket. It's just a little bit narrow when it comes to the back. It's more deep when it comes here with the Bose premium sound system. For the back seats, I'm at 39 inches of headroom, 39.6 inches of legroom, heated rear seats right next to your cup holders. Open up in here and you get 2 USB ports. You'll have your air vents stationed in the center. The floor is not completely flat, but you get storage on both of the seats. The door panel, get your everyday materials on the top. You're gonna get the wood inlays and the chrome. It's gonna be a little bit more sport derived for your elbows, one touch up and down, and the storage pocket will be able to fit about 1 bottle. Sitting into the center headroom is no issue. Leg space, feet, butt, and shoulder space kind of is, because it's not the widest vehicle in its class, but the CX-50 is going to be even smaller. So if you're looking to option that one opposed to this one, you're going to actually have more interior space inside the CX-5. One thing to know right off the bat, if you are comparing this to the Germans, which I know this is not in the same class, however, a Mercedes-Benz is 221 horsepower, an Audi 228 horsepower, a BMW 241 horsepower. This is 256 horsepower with 320 pound-feet of torque. This is under $43,000. Those MSRP is at $39,000 to near $40,000. So that's why I compared against the Germans, because it is a heck of a deal when you're considering the performance underneath the hood of this. Obviously, when you look at Toyota and Honda, there's no comparison in the numbers. The towing, though, it would be nice if that was increased to around 3,500 pounds. And I get it. If you increase the towing to 3,500 pounds, why would you get a CX-9 besides a third row? That's why this is a sweet spot vehicle, because you're just touching in the 40,000 price point. You get all the luxury amenities, wireless charging pad. I mean, when you start thinking about the technology that you're getting and the performance blend, it pretty much puts itself in another class above Honda and Toyota. We got it in sport mode. We're going to see and unleash the power. And your brakes. Overall safety is where it's at whenever you're driving a vehicle, especially if you're doing some performance numbers. It's going to take me to some pros and cons, which we're going to go over right now. The number one thing, this has the best power derived in class for its price point. You can compare it to anything, and it is just amazing what you're getting underneath it. Now, on the flip side to that, when you start getting up to higher speeds, meaning past 60, 65 miles per hour, it does start getting a little bit harder to adjust and get up to 70, 75 miles per hour because you have so much power that is on the lower end than on the high end. So that's why it'll push you back. Plus, it's 320 pound-feet of torque. The second thing that I like, you have more luxury than the class that it's actually going after, whether it's Volkswagen, Toyota, Honda. You have a lot more amenities in the interior of this and more cargo capacity too. The last thing that I like, every trim gets all-wheel drive. What model do you know does this? Unless you're going into Subaru, you're not going to get it. Turn radius at more or less a stop point is going to be about 2 in a part lane. Let's rock and roll. It's a throaty exhaust note. I mean, for a Turbo 4, it is pretty throaty. I am kind of shocked every time I drive these vehicles, the noise that comes out of it. It's just intense because you're not really expecting it, because the sound deadening to it is actually pretty good. You don't really hear a lot of road noise on the exterior, especially when you're in the signature trim, because you have dual pane windows. Three things that I dislike has to start off with where they place the buttons. Your heated steering wheel switch is not on the steering wheel, it's right here. If you want to look at the cameras, it's over here. Everything is kind of not necessarily easy where it's at. Also, this center cluster here is so long that it pushes back your storage and your armrest to where if you're short, you don't even have one. The second thing that I dislike has to go to the cargo. When you want to open up the trunk, you cannot do so if any of the doors are open and the car is running. The last thing that I dislike is they have a lot of pieces that they've added. So what I mean by that is you can see that they tacked on this, they tacked on this. There's just a lot of pieces. They could have configured it where it's more seamless and it's one or two pieces instead of 15 different pieces to configure a dashboard, because when you do that, it starts taking away from the essence of the luxury that they're actually putting in the interior of the car. Overall feel though, it is a fun to drive vehicle. You're not going to be doing a lot of dynamics to it. It's an SUV, so it's going to be top heavy. And I mean, any SUV is going to be like that unless you start optioning a vehicle that has a perfect 50-50 weight distribution or something that has a lot more power, in which the price is going to escalate to 2 times the price of this. So it ticks the box for an everyday use. It's going to be a lot more soft in the interior than it will be in the Honda and Toyota. It's going to be more plush as well. You also get power seat adjustments. And yes, the new CR-V gets 10-way power seat adjustment for the driver. In the signature trim here, we get power seat for both, which makes this a step up. Ventilated heated seats. In the back, you get more charging ports. When you get into the turbocharge for the Honda, they didn't do anything for that. You have to go into the hybrid trim to get maximum power capacity. For Toyota, obviously towing is going to be better. It's going to be a lot more harder aesthetics in the interior. And why would you option any of the Germans when you're at a price tag fully loaded more or less where they are MSRP, and you have more performance underneath this? I'd like to thank Tyrone Square Mazda for giving us this 2023 Mazda CX-5 Signature Turbo for our car review. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Hawkeye community. If not, I don't know what you're waiting for. Click the next video and the subscribe button. Check out the merchandise website and Instagram and everything's due here at Hawkeye Rides.